And I would say other than these Rutgers tomatoes and a few of our peppers, we started, I want to say 95% of our plants from our own seeds. Guten Yardening, everybody. Well, it is definitely fall out here in Zone 5, Wisconsin. The temperatures during the day have dropped to about 75 degrees, and at night we're down to about 45 to 47 degrees Fahrenheit. In fact, I heard in parts north of us in this state, there have already been some frost warnings. Well, fortunately, it hasn't cooled off that much here, but I will say that our fall vegetables like our chard here and some of our kale and our broccoli, they're looking great. They've really perked up with this cooler weather. But that being said, we still have plenty to harvest from our summer crops. So today we're going to do a little bit of a roundup harvest where we see just how much we still have out here. And remember, we're going to have plenty of winter squash and other things to harvest down the line. But any further ado, let's go ahead and get started harvesting the vegetables that are still out there from the summer. Now, we've actually been able to do a couple of really nice harvests and shown you that over the last couple of months. I think my favorite was the one where we harvested all the colors of the rainbow. And we actually still have quite a few of those colors still out here. And that's actually one of the things my wife and I have been talking about, how this season seems to be extended, how we've been getting more production, just more fruit, better quality fruit longer this year than ever before. And that's got me wondering what other people in other growing zones are experiencing this year. Have you been noticing the same kind of production with your vegetables? To be able to come out here at the end of September and pull these eggplant off of just 2 plants is something I'm really excited about. Now, here's something I think is really interesting about this okra. This is, first of all, the first year that we've had this much success with our okra, but if you go down, you can see where we started all the way down here, about a foot off the ground, harvesting this particular variety, and now it's a good 3 feet tall, I would say, at least, and we're still getting more okra that are going to appear here at the top as long as the weather stays appropriate. And we've also noticed that down here toward the base of the plant, we're getting some brand new growth in here that wasn't there before. So this is kind of an interesting piece where the plant seems to be creating these offshoots here. There we go. Toward the bottom, these brand new plants off to the side. Our late crop tomatoes that we transplanted up here only a couple of months ago are also doing really well. Take a look at these tomatoes. They are exceptional. They're soft. They are vine ripe and ready to go. What's interesting about this particular kind that we transplanted up here is, again, they're really soft and nice, even though the tops of them are still a little bit green. But we're going to get these inside before there's any insect damage or anything like that to them, because these are in great shape. And I'm going to taste one of these. Now, these are volunteers, so I'm not actually sure what variety they are, but let's give it a taste. Oh my, they are so sweet and delicious. Yeah, so we will be saving seeds from these for sure, because if they volunteered and they are massive producers this year, I think next year is going to be even better. Well, take a look at the underside of this plant just as an example. You can see there are tomatoes everywhere, and really it looks like they're just now starting to die back. And so, I mean, healthy, great decision to have these late season tomatoes planted in here. One of the cool things about transplanting our volunteer tomatoes is that, well, these actually volunteered in the same area that our other tomatoes that I've just been harvesting volunteered, and yet they're completely different. So transplanting them out there means surprise varieties, and that is okay with me. One thing I haven't talked very much about is, and this is an example of what I'm about to say, these are Rutgers tomatoes, and I would say other than these Rutgers tomatoes, and you can see there's a whole bunch of them in here. I'm trying to get the greens out of the way here. And a few of our peppers, we started, I want to say 95% of our plants from our own seeds. So we didn't buy very many plants. There's a little bit of damage right up here, but that's not a problem. I can cut that right off. We just decided this year that that was going to be a piece of becoming self-sufficient. We weren't going to be relying on anyone else for our plants as much as we could. And I think we've had a great deal of success in doing that, because as you can see, the harvest is still going strong. I'm just getting started here in the front yard and space. And we've already got that nice haul. I've got a whole bunch of tomatoes left to get out of here. All the way down in here. Look at those beautiful colors. Isn't that fantastic? All right, we're gonna call that the front yard and harvest for now, even though we do have some really nice Brussels sprouts that we're not harvesting yet because we want that first frost to hit them to sweeten them up a little bit. And we definitely have more out here that we'll be able to harvest in the next couple of months. We're just not quite there yet with some of these plants. And these sweet potatoes, well, fingers crossed, this is our first in-ground sweet potato that we're gonna harvest soon. Now, the last time I walked down this path, I still had cucumbers to harvest, and I don't have any more of those, but I still do have tomatoes to come in here and get, so we'll get those here in a second. And you know, our squash, our winter squash, is getting really close. You can see a couple of them really nice hanging in there right there. And of course, as we come down here, our kabocha squash as well. So we're gonna have plenty of this squash to harvest here very soon. Quick little harvest there. Now, I'm not gonna show you all of the harvesting for tomatoes because they take quite a while, but I do have a bunch more to harvest, and I will show you how healthy those plants still are. Well, I'm at the end of this path, and I gotta say that this black cherry tomato, this volunteer black cherry tomato, has been just so productive. I love the size of these fruits too. And just such a productive volunteer to come up here and provide us with all of this. This is one of my favorite tasting. I mean, I love orange cherry tomatoes, but this has to be right up there. I've got to get in here because you can see there are quite a few more on this plant still as well. And this shows absolutely no signs of dying back. In fact, take a look at that. We still got blossoms on here. Now, how long the weather will hold for us, I don't know. But I'm going to enjoy it as long as it does. I think this plant right here is what I find hardest to believe that's still producing. This is our cucumber plant, and I've talked about this now multiple times, where we had 3, maybe 4 cucumbers total last year, and we still have, even with all this dying back, we still have multiple cucumbers. You can see a couple right underneath there. Multiple cucumbers to harvest out of here. So you better believe we're going to be saving some seeds from this plant. If you have a favorite variety of cucumber that you found to work really well for you, let us know what it is in the comments. There's the ones I've already pulled off here, and I wanted to show you this because I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it. I've still got 1, 2 more nice sized ones on here to harvest. And then there's one down here that I think isn't going to get any bigger, so we'll get this one off of here too. And there's one more down there. And I want to restate at this point that we're almost into October here in Zone 5, Wisconsin, still with all these amazing summer vegetables. Well, it took some work to get these in there cooperating together so that the cucumbers didn't smash the tomatoes. But now I'm going to come over to our jungle here, and I'm going to head right back there to where the eggplants are. Now, I already harvested some eggplant out front, so you don't necessarily need to watch me harvest all the eggplant back here, but I do want to point out that there's actually quite a bit. I'll take a look here. There's quite a bit still in here, still growing really well, and it hasn't been on here too long. You know, sometimes they get a little tough if they're on there too long, but these are just magnificent. I referred to our eggplant as the prolific producer of the year earlier this season, and I'm not kidding. I think this is a plant that we will continue to grow in here year after year, probably on this same level. There you go, there's another nice size one. On this same level, because you just can't beat it. In fact, I just had some for dinner. Had some roasted eggplant. I mean, the taste is fantastic, and the quantity that we're getting down in here, and look, they're still coming in. Take a look right here. They're still coming in, baby ones. So as long as the weather stays warm enough, I mean, when is this going to stop? Hopefully not for a long time. One other thing I can say about eggplant is part of the fun here is trying to find where they're hiding. You know, I love a good sweet potato or potato harvest, but locating these eggplant here in the darkness, equally enjoyable, I think. One thing I have noticed, oh, what's this? Okay. A cucumber's made its way the whole way over. Here's the main plant back here on the trellis. That's where I just was a little bit earlier harvesting. And that's not what I was going to talk about, but hey, all right, we'll take another cucumber. I was going to say, one thing I've noticed is that some of these varieties just really form bunches of these eggplant, just like so. It's kind of cool to see the difference there in style. Man, there's just so many eggplants still out here for me to harvest. You can see them right down in here too. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get that cucumber and then get a bunch of these eggplant. Now, I do have a few more eggplant to harvest right over here, but before I do that, I'm right beside some of my beans, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with those. Now, these are our pole beans, and you can see they've died back pretty well. There's two reasons for that. One, the plants are getting old, and two, a rabbit came along, got into our main garden, and chomped off the bases of these plants. But that being said, you'll notice that there are a couple of beans that we've left on here, and you can see some of these are turning white now. And we've done that very intentionally. These are going to be ones that we're going to save and then plant again next season. But to the right, where we have plants that were not chewed off at the base, we do still, and I think you can see them in here, we do still have some beans coming in. There we go. Some beans coming in that we need to harvest. So these pole beans are lasting such a long time, and I think really that's one of the benefits of growing pole beans is that longevity. You can keep getting harvests even late into the season. Now, clearly when it comes to beans, our harvest size isn't going to be what it was, say, a month ago, but just in general, I think it's time for me to empty this basket again. All right, I'm going to give you a challenge now. How many big eggplant can you spot right now? I think one of them's nearly impossible, so let's move in. I know you can probably see this one, but the one down beneath here is nearly impossible to see, but a really nice size. And the tomatoes growing in here along the trellises right beside the eggplant and the beans. You can see the beans here again dying back a little bit, but our tomatoes still looking great. Lots of ripe ones on here, lots of healthy leaves. So these are going to keep going. I've got a few more beans to pick, it looks like, but I'm going to get these tomatoes off here. Had to bring the shirt in here to help out. I know I'm not alone in doing that. Look at the light hitting off of these orange tomatoes. That's just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. All right, be honest with me. Who else here loves a good, fresh green bean? Raw is just such a wonderful taste. Now, I've got to find a way through this amazing jungle of kale in here because I need to get back to a couple of eggplant all the way across there. You know, this is a wonderful problem to have. You know, difficulty walking through some amazing kale. This stuff is so good for you, so healthy, and we can use it in such a variety of ways. Well, it wasn't easy, but I made it, and it looks like some of these are still pretty small, but some of them are definitely harvestable. But hopefully those grow to maturity. That'll be a nice bit of extra food there. Yeah, we'll get that one too. Fall bearing golden raspberry snack break. Take a look at these. Oh, one of my absolute favorites. Let's enjoy. All right, a few more beans to harvest off these pole beans, and then there's something I'm going to show you that you might be surprised is still growing. And here we are, the area of surprise. Now, this is one of those yellow-looking rondinese summer squash, and it's not actually the only summer squash still growing. Now, this plant has just basically given up everything here, but we are still going to get a really nice fruit off here. A perfect golden zucchini off of here. Oh, these are so fantastic. One of my favorite looking vegetables. Anything with that bright yellow or orange color I really love. And of course, off our zucchini growing in our compost, we have not one, but two really big zucchini already since our last harvest. So I'm going to take these two off of here. I can't believe how long the production on this zucchini has been. I can see the leaves starting to really die back a little bit toward the back, but even the ones still up front here, plenty of health left in those. So who knows if we're gonna get even more. I'm down really close on this zucchini I'm about to pull off. You can see where my finger is. You see that? That's a squash bug. And the squash bugs have probably been working pretty hard at this plant, but one of the benefits of growing in this compost is clearly, well, it's rejecting their attempts to shut it down. Well, here's my hand for size comparison. Take a look at those really nice zucchini. And I'm gonna get those over with our basket. Well, I was gonna put them in there, but I don't wanna squish anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and empty this basket a third time and go ahead with the harvest. I wanna give you a little sneak peek here. I'm not ready to harvest this at all, but take a look at the broccoli coming in here. We actually just put this broccoli in here about a month and a half ago, I would say. And each of these plants, this is a 65-day variety, each of these plants is starting to form little broccoli heads on there. So this will be part of our fall harvest for sure. But what's part of this harvest? We have some nice orange peppers in here. And of course, I mean, where would we be without more eggplant? Well, how interesting is this? I have no idea what caused this kind of damage on the outside of these yellow peppers. But if you know, go ahead and leave us a comment and let us know what you think. Well, I know things are going well when I still haven't even hit on these shade gardens here. I have some pole beans here to harvest. We've got carrots down in here. Actually, the carrots are in pretty good shape here. I'll pull one out for you so you can see what's going on here. I mean, these could be harvested for sure if I wanted to. These are our Danvers. And so I could definitely harvest some of those, but I'm going to hold off on that for this harvest. But I've got to get some beans off here. And if I wanted to, I've got plenty of celery. I've got plenty of basil. We've got kohlrabi. We've got tomatoes in here. And I think right now the only thing I'm going to take more of here are our tomatoes and a few more of our pole beans here. So let me get these out of here as well. Boy, you're going to like what you see with this entire harvest. I almost forgot the tomatoes over here where we had our garlic earlier in the season. The garlic was growing below it, so we've got lots of tomatoes here to harvest. And right by some of our butternut squash. Take a look at those butternut squash. These are gigantic. That's got to be at least a 7-pounder, I would say. We've got some of our volunteer orange tomatoes, orangish yellow tomatoes. And of course, we have more butternut squash coming in, but we're not harvesting that yet. We're going to let that stay on here as long as we can. And so I'm going to wrap up this harvest by simply coming along and harvesting the last of the tomatoes. These are some of our volunteer tomatoes as well that we never did anything except pot them up a little bit bigger. I'm going to harvest those off of here, and then I'm going to show you what we've got. Well, here is the sum total of this harvest, and I gotta say there are some beautiful summer vegetables that we've harvested here in the fall. What a great experience to be able to harvest all of this fresh food still here almost in October, and we are so excited for preserving this so we'll have plenty of fresh food over the winter. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe. And most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.